So you finally did it. You went through 6 months of gut-wrenching therapy, filled 3 entire journals with your feelings, and you can finally say the word no without immediately sending a follow-up text that just says, "So sorry, is that okay?" You're expecting the heavens to part, fireworks to go off, or at the very least, for someone to hand you a shiny medal that says, "Congratulations on being emotionally functional." Instead, what you get is confusion. Your best friend squints at you over brunch and says, "You're different." Your mom sighs on the phone, "I miss how you used to laugh at everything. You're so serious now." Your coworker, the one who loves to delegate their work to you, jokes, "Who's this intense new hire? Bring back the fun one." And suddenly the confetti drop moment you were waiting for curdles. It hits you with the force of a tidal wave. The problem wasn't just that you were broken. The problem is that you finally stopped auditioning for a role you never even wanted. You thought healing was a private, internal renovation project, but now you see it has a second, very public phase, the part where everyone else has to deal with the new you. Healing just graduated from self-help to public weirdness. So, congrats? Let's give it its proper name, the one the brilliant psychiatrist Carl Jung gave it. The persona. He named it after the masks used by ancient Greek actors. The persona isn't a villain. It's not some malicious fake identity. It's simply the social face we present to the world. A kind of mask designed on one hand to make a definite impression upon others and on the other to conceal our true nature. It's a really convincing Halloween costume you forgot you were wearing, probably around last October, 10 years ago. This is the part of you that says, "I'm good, how are you?" when you're actually one passive-aggressive email away from a full-scale implosion. It's the part of you that nods and laughs at your uncle's terrible jokes at Thanksgiving because silence feels far riskier than pretending. It's the version of you that posts smiling vacation photos on Instagram when in reality you spent half the trip crying in the hotel bathroom. Look, I know it's awkward to say this, but if you're vibing with this already, tap that like button or leave a comment. It actually helps way more than it should. And if you subscribe, well then you've officially joined the club of people who admit healing makes them strange. Welcome in advance. Most of us don't even notice the mask hardening. It happens slowly, like braces tightening so gradually you just assume the constant dull ache is a normal part of having teeth. Then one day, you're standing at the office coffee machine, listening to your boss talk about their weekend, and you find you literally cannot produce a fake smile. Your throat locks up. The pre-written script of polite responses dies on your tongue, and the first feeling that rushes in isn't relief, it's terror. Sheer, absolute terror. Because if you're not the agreeable one, the easygoing one, the one who never makes waves, then who on earth are you? Here's the twist that Jung understood so well, that mask once saved you. The persona is a tool for social adaptation. It got you through the brutal battlefield of the middle school cafeteria. It helped you survive that soul-crushing retail job where the customer was always right, even when they were spectacularly wrong. It kept you employed at the company with the terrible boss but the great health insurance. It was a functional, necessary piece of armor. But healing starts poking holes in it. The armor gets heavy. The mask itches. You start scratching at it, and suddenly it slips, and the people around you don't applaud. They act like you've just grown gills and started speaking in tongues. The problem isn't the mask itself, but as Jung warned, the danger is when we become identical with our personas. The professor with his textbook, the tenor with his voice, when we forget we're wearing it at all. So what happens when the mask cracks? You get a visit from what's been living underneath. Welcome to the parts of yourself you've been stuffing down with both hands your entire life. Your ugly cry face, your secret ambition to quit your job and become a beekeeper, your blinding rage at people who chew loudly. This is the stuff you'd rather not admit you contain. Jung had a name for this too, the shadow. Think of the shadow as the roommate you've been actively ghosting for years, even though they live in your basement. It's everything about yourself that you've repressed or disowned, often because you were taught it was bad or unacceptable. As Jung put it, the shadow is the thing a person has no wish to be. The first time my shadow showed up uninvited to a party, I was at brunch, holding a mimosa. listening to a group of people bond over mortgage rates and lawn care strategies. And from a place deep inside me, a voice I didn't recognize popped out and said, "Honestly, I would rather talk about the last poem that completely wrecked you." The record didn't just scratch. It flew off the turntable and shattered. There was a moment of dead, awkward silence, one polite little laugh, and then an immediate topic change back to the safety of suburban landscaping. In that moment, my stomach dropped to the floor. I felt a hot flush of shame. But right after the shame, something else lifted. Something real had slipped past security. A little piece of my actual self had just shown up. Shadow moments are rarely glamorous. They are not cinematic breakthroughs. You'll find yourself tearing up over a dog food commercial because it reminds you of a pet you lost 15 years ago. You'll feel a disproportionate, almost homicidal rage when someone chirps, "Everything happens for a reason," right after you've had a truly awful day. You'll notice a flash of envy so intense it makes your teeth ache when a friend announces their success. These aren't breakdowns, they're overdue reunion. The shadow isn't just a container for our bad traits like rage, jealousy, and fear. It also holds our buried positive qualities, our creativity, our spontaneity, our raw instincts. It's the source of our creative and destructive energies. This is what Jung called making the darkness conscious. As he famously said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Every buried piece of you, good and bad, wants to be acknowledged. It looks weird from the outside because most people are still walking around in their pristine, "I'm totally fine, everything is great" outfits, terrified of what's in their own basement. Look, I know it's awkward to say this, but if you're vibing with this already, tap that like button or leave a comment. It actually helps way more than it should. And if you subscribe, well, then you've officially joined the club of people who admit healing makes them strange. Welcome in advance. Have you ever had that surreal feeling like you're the only person who sees that the sky is blue, while everyone around you is calmly and confidently insisting that it's green? That is the closest description I have for what this next stage of healing feels like. It's a process Jung called individuation. Individuation is the journey of becoming whole by integrating all the disparate parts of yourself, your conscious ego, your public persona, and your unconscious shadow. It's the process of becoming an individual, a being distinct from the collective psychology. You stop orbiting other people's comfort zones, and you start to realize that you are the planet. You have your own gravity. The side effects of individuation can be intense. Friends you've had for a decade might start saying you're too much or too intense. Your mom might call you cold because you've stopped trying to manage her emotions. Your boss might send a concerned email to HR about your new, unflinching directness. People react strangely because you're messing with the shared agreement to pretend the sky is green. Your personal blue sky reality is a threat to their collective green sky consensus. Meanwhile, you're tasting something you haven't experienced since you were about 7 years old. Your own breath, in your own lungs, on your own terms. It's terrifying, and it's exhilarating. Here's the crucial point. This is not a license to be a jerk. Authenticity without kindness is just another costume, another performance. It's the shadow taking over the whole show, which is just as unbalanced as being all persona. True individuation means holding the tension. It means choosing your authentic response with awareness and compassion. Sometimes it looks like leaving a party early, not because you're rude, but because small talk now feels like chewing on tinfoil. Sometimes it's saying, "I don't have the emotional bandwidth to talk about that right now," instead of just nodding along. Each tiny no, each small authentic choice, chips away at the old plastic shell. People will grieve that shell. They liked that shell. It was predictable and safe. You grieve less and less, because you're starting to prefer the feeling of your own skin. This is the difficult but rewarding work of what Jung called being whole rather than good. Being good is often about conforming to external expectations. Being whole is about integrating every part of yourself, even the messy ones. Here's a spoiler alert that shouldn't be a spoiler. Some relationships have mileage limits. They were designed for the person you used to be, and they may not be equipped for the person you are becoming. The old you had hobbies like tolerating backhanded compliments, being the designated therapist for all my friends, and laughing when things are definitely not funny. Some people bought front row tickets for that specific show. When you change the script, they feel scammed. They want a refund. You'll have conversations that feel like walking through molasses. They'll say things like, "You used to be so much more fun," which often translates to, "You used to be so much more compliant," or, "I feel like I can't talk to you anymore," which can mean, "I can no longer dump my unfiltered anxieties on you without you having a reaction." This is the time to practice a new vocabulary. Try this line on. "I still care about you deeply. I'm just adding myself to the RSVP list of people I care about." Boundaries aren't attacks. They are invitations to a more authentic relationship. They are you, calmly explaining what your new operating system requires. Instead of ghosting or exploding, try a clear, kind invitation. "I find I can't really do loud brunch crowds anymore. The noise overwhelms me. But would you be up for a quiet walk in the park later? I'd love to catch up, just us." Or with a family member, "I love you, and I can't participate in gossip about other family members anymore. It leaves me feeling terrible. But I'd love to hear more about what's going on in your garden." If the answer you get back is rage, guilt, or the silent treatment, that's not drama. That's data. It's valuable information that tells you which of your connections were built on your presence and which were built on your performance. Some people won't be able to make the transition, and that will hurt. It's a genuine loss. But it also makes space for the people who want to know the real you, gills and all. So after all this work, after cracking the old persona and meeting the shadow, do you just end up as a raw, boundaryless nerve ending, spilling your deepest truths all over the grocery store checkout line? No, that would be exhausting and frankly not very effective. You don't become maskless, you just get a better mask. You trade in the old, rigid, suffocating helmet for a new one that has windows. Or better yet, you learn to wear your persona like a pair of sunglasses, not a suit of armor. You can put it on when the social glare is too bright, and you can take it off when you're with people you trust. It's a conscious choice, not an unconscious prison. The goal is to have a flexible, functional persona that you control, not one that controls you. 2 quick questions can help you keep it flexible in any situation. What is actually genuinely true for me right now? What is both kind and useful to say out loud? The magic happens in the space between those 2 answers. For example, you run into an acquaintance who asks how you are. The raw truth might be, "I'm a mess. I think my life is falling apart and I'm pretty sure I have an undiagnosed anxiety disorder." But what's kind and useful? Maybe something like, "I'm navigating some heavy stuff right now, but I'm hanging in there. Thanks so much for checking in." It's true, it's clean, it's done. It's honest without being an uninvited trauma dump. Or a friend asks you to help them move on a Saturday you had reserved for resting. The old you would have said yes instantly. The new you checks in. The truth is, I am so burned out that the thought of lifting a single box makes me want to cry. The kind and useful response is, "I'm so happy for you in your new place. Unfortunately, I won't be able to help with the heavy lifting on Saturday, but I would love to bring over a housewarming pizza that night to celebrate." Over time, your people, the ones who stick around, learn a new language. They learn that when you say you're fine, you actually are. They learn that when you say you're tired, you mean it. They learn to trust your words because you are finally learning to trust your own inner reality. What a novel concept. Engaging with your shadow doesn't require a dramatic, soul-bearing confrontation in a cave while chanting. It's a daily practice of small, weird, and honest acts. It's about gently and safely letting the basement roommate come upstairs for a few minutes each day. Here are some budget-friendly ways to practice shadow integration. The 2-minute rant. Set a timer for just 2 minutes. On a piece of paper you intend to destroy, let your absolute worst, most petty, irrational, and furious thoughts spill out. Don't judge them, just write them. When the timer goes off, read it, acknowledge the feeling, and then shred it or burn it. You're not acting on it. You're just making the darkness conscious. Opposite hand doodle. Take a pen in your non-dominant hand and try to draw your current mood. It will look terrible. It will be awkward and messy. That's the point. It bypasses your inner critic and perfectionist. allowing a more primal, less filtered part of you to express itself. The honest yes-no pause. This is a game changer. Before you automatically say yes to any request, build in a pause. Take a full breath. Ask yourself, is this a hell yes or a should yes? Give yourself permission to say, let me check my calendar and get back to you. This small gap creates space for your real answer to surface. Then practice the clean no. No, I won't be able to stay late tonight, but thanks for the opportunity. No excuses needed. Identify your two safe witnesses. Find one or two humans on this planet who won't flinch if you confess something weird. The person you can text and say, I'm irrationally angry that my package is a day late. Or, I still sleep with my baby blanket and I'm 35. These are the people who see your shadow and don't run away. Their acceptance of your weirdness helps you accept it yourself. Wear your symbolic bling. Find an object that represents a moment you chose yourself. Maybe it's a ring you bought the day you quit that soul-sucking job, or a cheap bracelet from a solo trip you took. Wear it. Let it be a physical reminder that you have survived every single version of yourself so far, and that you have the strength to keep choosing the real you. These aren't life hacks. They're microdoses of saying, I see you, to the parts of yourself you sent into exile long ago. There's a part of healing that nobody really talks about enough. Grief. You're not just gaining a new self, you're losing all your old ones, and those old selves deserve a funeral. You will find yourself crying in a grocery store parking lot for the little kid who learned to swallow her voice to keep the peace at the dinner table. You'll feel a pang of sadness for the 20-something who said yes to every single date because being alone felt like failure. You'll mourn the version of you that was the life of the party, even though it left you feeling hollow and exhausted. Each mask had a purpose. Each one helped you survive. To deny that is to deny your own history. So you give them a quiet burial, right there in the driver's seat of your car, or in the shower, or while you're walking your dog. There's no headstone, no eulogy, just a quiet internal nod. Thank you for getting me this far. I'll take it from here. This grief can feel like you're backsliding. You'll think, I've done all this work, why do I feel so sad? You're not going backward. You're graduating. You're finally feeling the feelings you had to suppress to keep the mask on. You're letting the pain of the past move through you instead of setting up permanent residence inside you. It's the final necessary step in letting go. About 6 months after my own mask cracked, I noticed something wild happening. The people who stayed, the ones who could handle the blue sky, started getting weirder too. A friend sent me a midnight voice note about a recurring childhood dream. Another sent an unprompted, honest text that just said, I'm not okay today. I need help. I started getting poems in my DMs. People started admitting their own weirdness, their own fears, their own secret dreams. It turns out that when you stop performing, you give everyone else in the room permission to finally exhale. Your authenticity is a quiet revolution. It creates a space where other people's shadows feel safe enough to come out and play. As Jung noted, the process of individuation doesn't lead to isolation. It ultimately leads to more intense and broader collective relationships. Jung believed the ultimate goal is to connect with the self, the whole circle of your psyche, not just the small conscious center. When you stop orbiting everyone else's expectations, you start to glow from your own center. The planets in your life will either adjust their orbit to your new gravity, or they will drift out of your solar system. And for the first time, the gravity feels like it's finally yours. This is the heart of what Jung meant when he said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. I want you to picture something. Not a fantasy, but a forecast. Picture a random Tuesday, maybe 5 years from now. Weird is just your default setting. You wake up a few minutes before your alarm, not because of anxiety, but because your body trusts its own rhythm. You get dressed, and you pick the shirt that feels like a second skin, not the one you think makes you look professional. On your way to work, you send that risky, vulnerable text to a friend, and you don't spend the next hour obsessively checking to see if they've replied. You eat your lunch, and you actually taste every bite because you're not mentally replaying an awkward conversation from yesterday. At the end of the day, you feel bone-tired, but it's the deep, satisfying exhaustion that comes from living, from creating, from connecting, from actually being here. It's not the frazzled, brittle exhaustion that comes from a full day of pretending. That person isn't a fantasy living in a perfect future. That person is the result of compound interest. They are the sum total of every tiny act of honesty, every awkward boundary, every moment of self-compassion you are banking right now. Every time you choose the real thing over the easy thing today, you are making a deposit in that future. So here is your permission slip. Not that you ever needed one. Let the mask fall when it's ready. Don't be afraid to scratch the itch when the old persona feels tight and uncomfortable. Laugh when your shadow whispers something inappropriate in the middle of a boring meeting. Let yourself cry when you feel the grief for the old you who tried so hard to be good. And remember this, absolutely nobody in this world is lying awake at night yearning for more beige, more normal, more polite conformity. We are starving for more whole. We are starving for more real. The world doesn't need another perfect, polished performance. It needs you. The whole, weird, messy, complex, and finally free you. If this found you at the perfect moment, let me know in the comments. Type the word strange if today is the day you choose real over being liked. And share this with that friend who keeps whispering, "I think I'm getting stranger." Maybe they're not getting stranger. Maybe they're just finally getting home.